They are separated by streets, by neighborhoods, and from the air, it's easy to tell. But Monday night, Fort Worth PD sources say these two scenes are sadly connected by death.
Her mother called me. She said her daughter had been shot. So when we get here, her daughter's on the ground, dead. I just lost my daughter November the 2nd, and I just buried her on the 13th of November. Then my baby, CDB, she's gone now. This is a lot. This is a lot on the family.
You want to have a community, you look in our youth, and that was one. She was going to college. She was going to be something so she could come back to her community.
It does not always begin with violence. Sometimes it begins quietly, with a message or a rumor passed through text messages or shared on social media. Someone says there's going to be a fight, and the word spreads fast. Screens light up, notifications buzz, teenagers start showing up. Not always to take part, but to watch, to record, or simply to see what happens. In those moments, excitement can outweigh caution, and few stop to think about how quickly things can turn dangerous. That is how an ordinary afternoon in Fort Worth turned into a tragedy. On the afternoon of December 29th, 2025, a group of young people estimated to be about 15 to 20 teenagers gathered at historic Stop 6 Park in East Fort Worth after hearing there was a planned fight. Anna Boone was among those at the park that day. She was only 17 years old and known to her family and friends as CC, a name that reflected her personality and the way people felt about her. She was a daughter, a sister, a student, and a young woman just beginning to step into adulthood, looking forward to wrapping up her senior year of high school in May. Like many teenagers, she went to the park that afternoon with no reason to believe her life was in danger. She did not go expecting anything permanent to happen. No one was prepared for what came next. Witnesses later told police that voices were raised and a fight appeared to break out. Tensions escalated quickly, and the situation spiraled out of control. Moments later, gunfire erupted. Nearby residents also said they heard loud popping sounds echo through the neighborhood. At first, some thought it might be fireworks. The end of the year was approaching, and loud noises were not unusual. But the sounds did not fade. They came fast and uneven. That is when fear sets in. People realized these were not fireworks. These were gunshots. Inside the park, panic took over. People ran. Others froze. Some dropped to the ground. No one knew where the shots were coming from or who was firing. In seconds, what had felt like excitement turned into chaos. East Division police officers were already in the area responding to an unrelated call when they heard the gunfire. Without hesitation, they rushed toward the sound, which led them directly to historic Stop 6 Park. When officers arrived, they found a teenage girl lying on the ground with gunshot wounds. That girl was Anna Boone. Officers immediately tried to help her, but her injuries were severe. Despite their efforts, Anna was pronounced dead at the scene. In a matter of moments, a 17-year-old girl with plans, goals, and a future ahead of her was gone. As officers secured the park and began trying to piece together what had happened, another call came in just minutes later. Police were dispatched to the 1700 block of Hanley Drive, about 2 miles away. There, officers found a young man inside a parked vehicle who had also been shot. He was identified as 18-year-old Frank Price Jr. Frank was taken to the hospital, but he did not survive his injuries. Another person who had been inside the vehicle fled on foot and was later located in a nearby home and detained for questioning. Investigators quickly began working to understand how the two scenes were connected. A family member of Frank Price Jr. later told police that he had gone to the park that afternoon knowing a fight was expected. Investigators believe a vehicle left the park after the gunfire and ended up at the second location. Whether Frank was shot at the park or elsewhere has not been publicly confirmed. What is clear is that violence did not stop at the park. It followed. By the end of that afternoon, what started as teenagers gathering around a rumored fight had turned into a double homicide investigation. 2 young lives were gone. 2 families were changed forever. A community was left trying to understand how everything unraveled so quickly.
Investigators say 17-year-old Dunbar High School senior Anna Boone was killed near the park, where police say there had been close to 24 people gathered.
On the initial details from the call at the park, they say that it was a large gathering. So we don't know the relationship, but there was a large group at the park where the first incident was reported.
A second call to police overlapped the investigation. Another shooting victim was reported nearby in the 1700 block of Handley Drive.
While we were investigating those two calls, we noticed that they were possibly related to each other, which they were. Some of the details that we gathered yesterday was that suspect vehicle fled or drove away from the park and ended up on Handley Drive. So that's how they are connected.
At the Handley Drive scene, a young man in a vehicle who'd been shot was taken to a hospital where he died from his injuries. A second person from that vehicle was detained for questioning.
So we are getting all those details to see what part that third person played in the incident.
Police say the exact reason for the large gathering on Liberty Street is unclear, despite speculation that it stemmed from an argument that escalated to violence.
This is a very strict reminder. Children, don't meet up nowhere to go fight, because you might be there just supporting a friend of yours and you might leave the earth, unfortunately, and then your family has to deal with that pain.
In the days that followed, the flashing lights and police tape faded, but the grief did not. At Dunbar High School, where C. Anna was a senior, the loss hit hard. Her classmates struggled to process the sudden absence of someone they had just seen days earlier. Her family said C. Anna was on track to graduate, not only with her high school diploma, but also with an associate's degree. Graduation was close. The next chapter was within reach. College was part of her plan. Independence was part of her plan. Her future felt real. Her mother later broke her silence, pushing through unbearable grief to speak out. She said she did not speak for attention or headlines. She spoke because if sharing her pain could save even one other child, then her daughter's life would still make a difference. She spoke about the heartbreak of going from planning celebrations to planning a funeral. She spoke about the anger, the confusion, and the emptiness left behind. You took something from a family that really loved somebody, she said, speaking directly to the unknown shooter. Her message was not just about loss. It was about responsibility, about choices, about how one moment can destroy multiple lives, not just the person who was shot, but everyone who loves them. The community responded with vigils, balloon releases, and conversations about gun violence and youth safety. Students wore green in C. Anna's honor. People gathered to remember her name, her smile, and the future she never got to live out.
Then, 2 days later, January 9th, a balloon release in remembrance of Sienna, her classmates saying, "Wear the color green," an event Shantae says is also open to the entire community,
including cameras in and around the park. As of now, no arrests have been announced. Questions remain. Who fired the shots? Why was a gun present? How did a gathering of teenagers turn deadly so fast?
After losing her only daughter to gun violence,
I know they can't get them guns off the street.
Shantae Williams pushed through unbearable grief, breaking her silence for others.
If I could save another child's life, I would save another child's life. Just by telling them that's not what you want to do.
On Monday, December 29th, Fort Worth police responded to gunfire at historic Stop 6 Park. A bullet struck and killed Shantae's 17-year-old daughter, Sienna Boone, found by officers. A second victim, 18-year-old Frank Price Jr., died at the hospital. The shooter got away.
You hit somebody that wasn't your target, and you took something from a family that really loved somebody.
Days before the shooting, Shantae says her daughter approved this video montage she put together, part of graduation celebrations, already earning her associate's degree, and part of Sienna's January 10th, 18th birthday party.
Now I gotta go from planning this birthday party to a funeral.
As this story comes to an end, the questions remain. But the loss is already permanent. A rumor, a gathering, a moment that should have passed like so many others instead left two families shattered and a community grieving. For C. Anna Boone's loved ones, there is no moving on from this, only learning how to live with an empty space where a bright young life once stood. C. Anna should be preparing for graduation, celebrating milestones, and stepping into adulthood on her own time. Instead, her name is now spoken in remembrance. Her story is a reminder that moments of excitement and curiosity can carry real consequences, and that violence does not just take a life, it changes countless others forever. Beyond the investigation and the unanswered questions, what matters most is who Sienna was. She was loved. She mattered. Her life had meaning long before that afternoon, and it still does now. Remembering her means choosing awareness over silence, responsibility over recklessness, and protection over indifference, so that another family does not have to tell the same heartbreaking story. C. Anna Boone's life should not be reduced to the place where she died. She deserves to be remembered for the future she was building, the people she loved, and the light she brought into the lives around her. And as her community continues to grieve, her story stands as a call to pause, to think, and to protect our youth before curiosity and conflict turn into irreversible loss.